Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and welcome to the Battle for Azeroth beta and the second pass for the Frost Death Knight. I'm going to preface this entire video that there is a huge discussion in the Twitch VOD. I would implore you, if you are really tied to this spec, to go check that out. It's linked down below in the video description box. And before I go any deeper, before people turn off the video, I'm basically going to talk about the big summary in the middle of this when we get to the nitty-gritty part, the chunky middle talenty stuff, because there's something wrong still with Frost, and the first pass stuff was like and then Blizzard changed things, and I was like, oh, and then the community freaked out, and they freaked out. Of course, I'll go over that in this video, and talent adjustments, spells and abilities have been lost or gained, what's been kept from your Legion artifacts and or legendaries, new graphics, a brief overview of the war mode talent system, and any GCD changes. There is no true gameplay in this series or any of these other videos, but it's more of like a one-man podcast walkthrough of what your spec is going to be like from Legion into the Battle for Azeroth, with some discussion tossed in there, like the Frost DK. There is also the entire second pass VOD again. It's linked down below. Go check that out if you'd like. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, or thoughts towards the points I will bring up in this video, please leave comments down below so we can get sort of more discussion going about this, in case you feel the same way that I do or many parts of the community also does. And if you like the ramblings herein on this channel, hit that subscribe button to be notified whenever new videos come out, or even yet, the bell icon actually will really notify you, because the sub button, what the hell does that do on YouTube anymore? I don't know. Frost Death Knight. Let me go over some base stuff here, and then I'll preface what we talked about on the live stream. Battle Res was changed a bit. It's instant still, 60-20, but it's 30 runic power. So the jokes now is that you're never going to res someone if you're a Death Knight, which I don't understand, because it's way more beneficial you res someone than you just take your 30 runic power and do one Frost Strike. Don't be like Jared or Bobbert, okay? Just res someone. But it is kind of weird. Druids have only a cast time or instant if you're a bear, but theirs is 100% HP, 20% mana, which is kind of weird. Warlock's 3-second cast, also a 60-20, but the runic power cost back to this is a little bit unfortunate. So Death's Advance is baseline for all Death Knights now. It is a 30% movement speed. You cannot be slowed below 100% during the actual movement speed amp. And passively, you cannot be slowed below 70% movement speed all the time. And you can talent into Wraith Walk, which is the current version you have on live. It's a 4-second, 70% channeled movement speed. You cannot be slowed below 170% movement speed during this. It removes you of all root effects, and you're immune to them during. Whereas Death's Advance makes you immune to forced movement effects and knockbacks. So you can have quite a bit more mobility on the Death Knight now. This is for Blood and Unholy and for Frost. So you're not as immobile as you used to be. This came to be a talking point topic a lot during the testing section, that they were still really slow. You're not. Stop it. Just, you're not as slow as you used to be. All right, calm down. Additionally, IBF was buffed, so it's now 30% up from 20. So the same duration, same cooldown. Death Strike was also buffed to 35% of the 5-second previous damage snapshot with a minimum of 10% of maximum health, 45 runic power. It's a little bit weaker for the Blood Death Knight, but they have more HP for their base heal, and of course they have Blood Shield, but this is for Unholy and Frost only. Reap Magic, which was your Purge, is gone, and Demon Hunters have it now. Sorry. That's all about that one. Dual wielding, as you can see in this, and I cannot transmog to both the artifact appearances right now because it's just bugged on the beta. Dual wielding is 100% confirmed. There is no two-hand Frost, even though I think thematically it makes way more sense. There is no way you can do it, because you cannot obliterate or Frost Strike with two sets of one-handed weapons. You just can't. Two-handers just don't work, unfortunately. Runic Empowerment was actually reverted back to the 1.5% per one runic power, or per runic power spent, right? Give you one rune. Previously, it was 1.8% per runic power to give you the rune. So that's People hope this might actually get buffed back to like 1.6 or 1.8, but 1.5, it feels fine. The rotation has some downtime. You'll see that in a little bit. Actually, I'll show that right now. Why not? Rotation has some downtime, but really, it's not that big of a deal. Some downtime is totally fine in the rotation. Even then, it's not even that much downtime. Oh no, a little bit of downtime. It's not even that bad. Compared to the other specs, it's what it is, I guess. I'm just getting really bad luck with resets on runes right now, too. But that's the reason why people want that to be buffed. But overall, it's not too terrible. There's a reset on a rune right there. That's nice. But that's the rotation. I mean, that's Frost Decay isn't horrifically changed in any way. That's still what you're looking at with Killing Machine and Rhyme procs. Those are all still totally what you're used to. That's just what Frost Decay is all about. On the topic of rest of your baseline stuff here real quick, though. Rune of Razor Ice. This is a pretty interesting one. This now scales. And yes, it's on my main hand. All right, I know where to put my weapon enchants. Thanks. This is now scales with your mastery. And of course, your mastery is still just the Frozen Heart. So just like for Unholy Death Knight, it's just shadow damage of your abilities. There's a whitelisting, blacklisting happening now. Same thing with Frost. It is Frost abilities, your Frost abilities. So it should not scale Azerite traits. It should not scale trinkets or anything external. This is a different change from live where you can actually scale those effects on your character. But now there is sort of a yes or no listing on what will and will not work in this category with your mastery now. But your mastery scales your Rune of Razor Ice. So if I take off a strength trinket, it goes down. So it scales with attack power. If I take off a mastery ring, it also goes down. So there is a attack power based mastery scaling on the Rune of Razor Ice now for the additional frost damage on the auto attack hit. Of course, it still stacks up to the 3% times 5 for 15% more multiplier on there. But that's a nice little adjustment overall. Additionally, you have Remorseless Winter. The snare was cut down to 20%. Where the heck is it? Right there. So 20% snare down from 50. And that's the last bit of good news. No, I'm just kidding. So we get to the discussion part. And this is where a lot of topics came up during the testing stream. I gotta get on this barrel. I gotta get on my soap barrel box. So, I really thought the initial case of Empowered Rune Weapon, which was upgraded to basically be Hungering Rune Weapon baseline, was a hugely positive change. But apparently, part of the Death Knight community that's very vocal freaked out. And they gave you back Pillar of Frost, because they originally removed Pillar of Frost. This is a step backwards, I would say. Again, the VOD has like an hour and a half of the discussion with one of the prominent guide writers, Chewy, out there, and he was in chat. We're talking about the Discord community, we're talking about guide writing, we're talking about all this madness, right? And Pillar of Frost doesn't need to be here. Because what Blizzard has done now is done something awkward that Blizzard normally does. Pillar of Frost now has a 45-second cooldown. It's 15% strength modifier for 15 seconds, and every rune spent while active will give you 1% more strength. That's fine. Strength is not all it's cracked up to be, though. The Frost Death Knight, at its core right now, needs runes. You need runes, and haste alone doesn't fix that. So strength is a limiting factor that you're only going to gain so much from this. But apparently people really wanted Pillar of Frost back, so Blizzard caved, which is unfortunate. At a 45-second cooldown, you're going to be strictly made this cookie-cutter build if this goes live until it gets maybe reworked in 8.1, like Enhancement or Shadow Priest. This is not a good thing, and it's unfortunate. The Empowered Rune Weapon change, 2-minute cooldown, lasts for 20 seconds. It's a 15% haste modifier, giving you 1 rune and 5 runic power instantly, and then another every 5 seconds for the next 20 seconds. So this gives you 25 runic power, 5 runes over the next 20 seconds, plus the 15% haste, which also increases rune regen. Runes, 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 runes. This is what drives the Frost Death Knight. People say it's slow because of the rune mechanic, back to what I said earlier with runic empowerment, right? But even keeping this at 1.5% is fine if your main cooldown was only ERW. So I'm going to kind of jump ahead here to talk about why this is bad. So Ice Cap was changed again. So your Frost Strike, Frost Scythes, if talented, and Obliterates critical strikes will reduce the remaining cooldown of POF by a second. This makes Pillar of Frost roughly a 30-second cooldown, which is good because then you can just always sync it with ERW. If you don't take Ice Cap, you're going to be delaying Pillar of Frost by 15 seconds. Because the amount of potential you have with Pillar of Frost and ERW together now is ridiculous. Or the more likely choice is you're going to take the new Obliteration, which the rune regeneration on this doesn't work right now, but while Pillar of Frost is active, Frost Strike, Glacial Advance, and Howling Blast will always grant Killing Machine and have a 40% chance to generate a rune. The rune regeneration doesn't work right now, so it's not totally implemented, but now you have 40-second POF that rolls into the Obliteration window. You're going to always delay Pillar of Frost by 15 seconds to always sync with every other ERW. Or I guess other way around. Because you have the 2 minutes, then you'll have 4 minutes, then you'll have 6 minutes, right? And you'll do Pillar of Frost at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is just, it's not, there's no reason why talents should exist that you always sync up together. So the thoughts I put forward so I can stop rambling, Pillar of Frost should be removed. Obliteration should go back to your second talent option that gives you the burst cooldown. Work the same exact way, just be Obliteration. Maybe even off the GCD, because you can just then do it and then immediately hit your builder that then works with Killing Machine. The Pillar of Frost strength mechanic, 10 to 15% of the strength could be added to Ice Cap. And then Ice Cap just buffs ERW. So you can either go the Empowered Rune Weapon Ice Cap window, which they can just rename Ice Cap to be Pillar of Frost, and your animation here stops, right? People want this animation to remain. But just when you take the new Pillar of Frost Ice Capped talent, you just get this after you ERW. And people argued that, oh, that'd be one of like the greatest cooldown combination talents ever. You're already gonna do that. It doesn't do anything differently when they're separated, so just combine them and clean that up. So you can either take super powered POF slash Ice Cap slash ERW, which makes it roughly like a 90-second-ish cooldown, or just take Obliteration if you need the extra burst, that then you can have it back to a 1 minute cooldown, and you can do that to sync with ERW, the baseline version, just the rune regeneration version, and the haste to make that a burst window, right? That just makes so much more sense than this madness you're dealing with right now. And I really, we talked about this for like an hour and a half, and I'm gonna move on from here. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the whole POF, ERW, Hungering Rune Weapon, Obliteration, Ice Cap madness going on right now. I won't bring it up. So it's just, I'll go on to talents now. Oh man. I feel so strongly about this because I think that the community just really misjudged, and then Blizzard was just like, you wanted this? Ha! That's unfortunate. So your DK talents on live. Bloop, there they are. You'll see the biggest changes with all the Death Knights, if you've been following the Death Knight series right now, is that the thematic building blocks of the tiers, the lines of the rows of talents making sense is really, really nice. There's some great QOL in here outside of this madness, and we'll go over all that right now. So the talents you had removed were Shattering Strikes, Freezing Fog, Abomination's Might, Winter is Coming, Volatile Shielding, and Hungering Rune Weapon. That's been made baseline in ERW. So updated talents, to go back to the bottom here, and we'll work our way back up. Breath of Sindragosa. In the whole argumentative point we just went over, Breath of Cindy, historically, has always either been amazing or never taken. It's too problematic, especially now in a tier that is cooldown reduction for Pillar of Frost, which is just strength, which should be ERW. Obliteration, which has rune regeneration on it, or Breath of Sindragosa, which eats runic power. Like, the thematic problem here is weird, but if you had, again, the baseline Hungering Rune Weapon system and then Breath of Sindragosa can work with that. You can make it work, but numbers matter for this. The big thing about this is they've changed Breath of Cindy's AoE scaling multiple times. So now all secondary targets just take 30% of what your main targeted target takes. There was like a 52% at +1, 18% at +2, 13% at +3 madness happening in the earlier build. Now it's just all secondary targets, 30% damage of whatever your clicked on target is taking, which is good. That's helpful for AoE. But again, Breath of Cindy only lasts like 25-ish seconds right now. So again, if that's good enough or not, but not because of this. So it's in a problematic place. Back to the top now. Inexorable Assault, which you see up there was your weird like movement thing, which I'll move these. You can tell that there's a lot changed here. So you gain Inexorable Assault every 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times, and then Obliterates and Frost Scythe will consume a stack, dealing additional frost damage. The Frost Scythe interaction with this is weird. It actually hits one of the random targets you Frost Scythe. Obliteration, obviously, or Obliterate is just the target you hit. So this gives you frost damage, mastery scaling, and it does, of course, stack the same way if you're running around, right? Like if you're actually getting around out of combat, the whole point of this talent still works totally fine. But if you're just patchworking, every 8 seconds, you just gain 1 stack of it, and that's just totally how it works. But again, with this, it's a 1 stack. Adds more scaling because Obliteration, or Obliterate itself, obviously is only physical damage. So adding some frost damage mastery scaling to it isn't that bad. Not for like a pure patchwork situation. And it still gives you the walk around movement, you know, buff that it used to give you. And it's in the, you know, the top tier here. Icy Talons had the epitome of a quality of life update. Runic power spending abilities increase your melee attack speed by 5% for 6 seconds up to 3 stacks. So the 12% is just a cut down. Auto attacks do a ton of damage in BFA now. So this is just a tuning pass. It's not like it's not a nerf, it's just a tuning thing. But all runic power spending abilities. So it works with Breath, works with Glacial Advance, works with your Frost Strike as well. So it has a lot more opportunity to be woven to keep that 3 stack up in the 6 second window, which is quite nice. Right now on live, you only can Frost Strike, which is a problem. So if you use Glacial Advance and Frost Strikes, you can do that. The bug currently, however, is that it works with your Death Strike, because it also spends runic power, but it gives you 2 stacks on a Death Strike, which I'm going to imagine, and many people said, that has to be a bug. Death Strike actually lands twice in the combat log because the heal is a physical hit on you, and then, of course, the actual attack is a physical offensively, which is probably what's bugging it out, because it's 2 attacks or there's 2 instances or whatever. So that shouldn't go live like that. Hopefully it gets fixed. Otherwise, you're going to always use a Death Strike to start out the rotation for Icy Talons if you're using it, which is kind of egregious. Hopefully not. Cold Heart right next to it. This is your... Where's the update for this? Cold Heart is your legendary chest, reworked as a talent. Now, going back, not bringing up too much of it, Cold Heart actually stacks perfectly with Ice Cap now. So if you take Cold Heart, the timing of Cold Heart stacking to give you that huge burst chains of ice syncs up with Pillar of Frost's cooldown at roughly 30-ish seconds. So this takes 40 seconds to sync up. So if you take Ice Cap, then you're going to be right on the money with always having this stacked whenever you get a Pillar of Frost up, right? Or it's the reverse, and you have to just wait and delay anyway to take advantage of Pillar of Frost in this huge Cold Heart window, right? So it's 20 stacks, there it goes. So let's just do this just for fun. Wah! That's 5k in 1 global. And Obliterate only hits for like not even 1,000. So to put that in perspective, that's on top of the, you know, Pillar of Frost strength increase, which you would stack this to the end and your last global in Pillar of Frost, because your new little mini game would be what you would use it when you get your strength up to like 25 or 30% if you're lucky enough. Then you would use your Cold Heart at the end there. But that's rotational stuff right there at the top. So your rune tier now has been all readjusted. So Horn of Winter is 2 runes, 25 runic power on the global every 45 seconds. Murderous Efficiency is that killing machine consumption is a 50% chance to give you a rune. Just feels good. And Runic Attenuation now is auto attacks generate 3 runic power. This is a slight buff. Where's my notes on this one? So this is not too bad. It's a RPPM based system. So attack speed does not necessarily affect it. Haste will. So going back to ERW, having haste, it's 18 RPPM times haste. So it's really similar in overall capacity on how much actual runic power to runes this entire tier gives you. I was told they're all really close. So it depends on RNG or just depends on smooth, which haste scales, or it depends on totally controlled. And that's where your runic power tier now relies. So it's pretty nice, actually. Horn of Winter, because it's on the GCD, people don't like it, but it has a potential to really help you if you ever get into a lull in the rotation where you have no runes up and you don't have no procs up and you need to do something, because it always will give you that potential to get the rotation going again. Right? Which I'm fine right now, getting no lucky procs, but we'll just pop it right there. Right? Horn of Winter also has a direct synergy with Breath of Sindragosa, because obviously it's on-demand runes and runic power, and you can, of course, couple this with your new baseline empowered rune weapon and really get in there, because you're going to have a ton of rune regen. And I have so many buttons to press right now. Yep. But that's just why empowered rune weapon just feels really good. You burn some, and you're not supposed to. You burn some runic power sometimes while waiting for runes, or the other way around sometimes can happen, where you just wait for runes, but you don't have the runic power to actually do something. So Hogan Horn of Winter can help you with that. But if you get lucky enough, which is kind of how Frost plays, but we'll just do this to go all the runes. Got 4 back on that global right there, basically, because I waited for the double proc. But, I mean, Frost rotates just fine. And I think Horn of Winter makes sense. People don't like it, but whatever. There's more problems right now than Horn of Winter, okay? We also have Ice Cap move down there, of course. Glacial Advance. This is a fun one. I was using it right there a little bit. They fixed a lot of its pathing, so it does work and doesn't work. So if you stand next to weird terrain, it still doesn't really work, but for the most part, it actually works properly now. But Glacial Advance is a runic power spender on a 6-second cooldown reduced by haste that travels forward in a line. It's a very thin line. Each target takes frost damage, so scales with their mastery. It applies the Razor Ice weapon enchant, rune enchant, right, to, from your rune forging here, to the targets at the eruption point. Does not actually apply the damage, just applies the stacking debuff. So that means you can actually use Glacial Advance, not exactly similar to how Unholy Death Knights are going to use Epidemic, but you can stack your AoE, you know, in AoE now, you can stack your damage amp. This also works really well with Frost Scythe, being able to be used three Frost Scythes into 1 Glacial Advance actually syncs pretty well. Obviously, you got to make sure you use your Rhyme procs, that kind of stuff there. Put up our Remorseless Winter. So you can do all of this while AoEing and cleaving. Here's another issue with Glacial Advance going on the ceiling there. That was pointed out to me on stream, that it doesn't always obey architecture properly. Yeah, see? But that works really well. That feels fine. There it goes on the ceiling again. So that's a nice quality of life improvement to Glacial Advance, to be able to give you stacking Razor Ice debuffs on enemies. It's all at 5 stacks over here. See? So make sure you're like right in the thick of all their hitboxes though, because it's a very thin line. If you don't actually hit it properly, it will not. So right there between all those, it definitely worked. But if you're not careful, if you aim it wrong, there it goes. That's about as thick as it is, right? Over here a little bit more. Yeah, see, it missed. So it missed target though. But a little bit of fun there. You can play with the new Glacial Advance if you'd like. Avalanche is a buffed Rime proc. So when you actually get a Howling Blast through Rime, you will then throw down a Blizzard on the target, basically. Oh, it ran out. Give me a Rime proc right now. There we go. What? So this apparently has less range than your Howling Blast actually does, but this, not bad. Your AoE-ish single target tier. And then Frozen Pulse got idiot proofed, I was told. So Frozen Pulse activates when you have fewer than 3 full runes. Your auto attacks radiate frost damage. So the radiating frost damage, of course, will happen all the time. So Icy Talons giving you that attack speed, and then, of course, your W giving you the haste. Pretty nice in that regard, because you're not going to frost scythe anything single target. It's like 3 or 4 plus at least. So Frozen Pulse, Avalanche could work in the sort of single target or cleavy category. Just depends, right? And then that is rotational stuff, right? So you have the AoE tier, you have your CC tier, you have your rune tier, you have your rotational tier. You have another AoE tier down here. Go over that in a moment. And of course, some extra DR stuff was changed. We went over Wraithwalk already, but you got Death Pact back, which is a 2-minute cooldown, 50% max health stone, but you gain an Absorb Shield that absorbs incoming healing on yourself equal to 30% of your max health in the next 15 seconds. So your healers take care of that. But if you get chunked by non-magic damage in this case, then you can take Death Pact to not die, or mobility, and then Permafrost is 40% of your auto attack damage goes into the shield. It is 20% of max health. Currently not working with versatility though, which I don't know if that's intentional or not. But Permafrost is like, is there pulsing damage? Is there dot damage? Sure. Mobility versus chunk damage, you can use that. Losing, it was called Volatile Shielding, I believe, was your other talent that was the anti-magic shell version. Kind of problematic though, because a lot of Frost Death Knights would take it and just stand in the bad and soak up runic power to use Breath of Sindragosa. Again, problems with Cindy, and why I think we talked about Glacial Advance. Breath of Cindy should almost be like your AoE runic power spender, where you basically breath to AoE to do what Glacial Advance does. That's just my thoughts, and then it can do something else down here, because again, Breath of Cindy is either amazing or you forget about it. Other talents, of course, down here, they were the added ones. So we only went over Cold Heart. Death's Reach is the 10 increased yards on Death Grip, and kills that yield honor or experience will reset the cooldown. Asphyxiate moves over here, so both Unholy and Frost have this now. It's your 4-second stun, 45-second cooldown. Then Blinding Sleet is still your AoE interrupt. That's actually 12 yards from your character or something ridiculous. Yeah. So you still have your AoE interrupt. You lost your AoE stun, but this still works for that. Even if it breaks immediately because of Disorient, you still interrupt all the targets that you would have stunned with Winter is Coming. So not too bad to have lost that, but gaining a direct single target stun or the Death's Reach buff is pretty nice. So this is the 2 talents that you gained in this regard. And then we had Frostworm's Fury. Frostworm's Fury is just Sindragosa's Fury from your artifact weapon. So, rawr, right into the wall. Good job. 3-minute cooldown. Goes 40 yards in front of you. 50% snare when they're hit. And of course, a large chunk of frost damage. So again, if you still had the Pillar of Frost sync with the new version of what I think Ice Cap should be, you could still do the Soul Strength buff to Frostworm's Fury. But right now you're going to do that anyway. You're just going to delay. The whole delay madness. Heck! Gathering Storm remains the same down here. It's just only 10% damage amp down from the 15. Duration extension is the same. Oh, I forgot I put a bastardized update because POF is still in the game for obliteration. I forgot to put that in my notes. Oh, man. But overall, your tiers are really good, honestly. There's less confusion with AoE talents and possible builds with the Frost Death Knight compared to if you watched the Unholy Death Knight video. There is some shenanigans tomfoolery going on with that. Because there's a lot of, what do I take in this regard? Oh, I should have Frost Strike there. My bad. We'll do this. Then we'll do one of those. Then we'll do one of that. Where's my, there we go. One more. Yeah. Like 5K on the Cold Heart there at the end of the Pillar of Frost. So Pretty nice. Pretty nice. I didn't hit that. You're not supposed to hit Howling Blast unless it has a Rhyme proc. I know. It's not worth the damage unless it's rough buffed by Rhyme. So, but that's Avalanche and work, right? I mean, the spec is solid. It plays. The talent updates were good. I just think the baseline problem with the potential cookie cutterness, because POF still exists, is a negative interaction with the spec, but we'll see how that plays out in the end. PvP talents, War Mode real quick, also GCD stuff. So I went over ERW is on the GCD, Pillar of Frost on the GCD, and the new Horn of Winter also on the GCD as well. Or I guess not new, updated, right? Those are all major cooldowns. They're all in the global cooldown. That's how that works. In War Mode, this is turned on in your capital city of Orgrimmar or Stormwind. You gain 10% increased XP from killing monsters and completing quests, additional rewards for doing world quests at max level, bonus honor, and you are flagged for world PvP all the time. And of course, these work in PvP islands and arenas and battlegrounds the same way. In the open world section, though, you will gain more honor for killing enemy faction combatants. And if you go on a 10+ kill streak, you'll then be updated to a assassin for your faction, gaining 15% damage and healing until you die. You get to pick whatever you would like in the medallion talent here. And of course, go check out Wowhead or WowDB for the talent calculators to read through all of these and make your own build potential. You can take Necrotic Aura, Decomposing Aura, and Heartstop Aura. I show that off in the Blood DK video if you would like. Other than that, though, you can pick and choose whatever build you would like to take together. So we took Frozen Center here. So this gives your Remorseless Winter the freeze within 10 yards, rooting them in place for 4 seconds. So it gives you the AoE root on Remorseless Winter. Chill Streak is the bouncing snowball of doom. It's a 45-second cooldown that deals 3% of the target's total health as frost damage, which I guess would deal 3% plus your mastery. Reduces their movement speed by 70% for 4 seconds, and the Chill Streak will bounce up to 9 times between closest targets. This means you can actually bounce it between yourself, which is really kind of weird. You could be in one target to one. I don't think it deals damage to you. It might. I don't know. It shouldn't. But it'll bounce between you and one target. I don't know how this will work on world bosses or anything like that, because 3% of their total health would be insane. So the scaling on PvE content will be different than players. But Chill Streak is funny because you can slow them from so far away. They get close enough to you, then you'll be rooting them in place. But then you can also Death's Chill, combine that with Death's Reach. So this is your Death Grip automatically puts Chains of Ice on the target for free. And then when you Chains of Ice target that already has the debuff, you will then root them in place for 4 seconds. So a very CC focused build potentially. And of course the chunkening with the Snowball of Doom. So you can have some really strong CC potential. You can take Asphyxiate on top of this or Death's Reach again with this type of build. Hello. So regardless of what you might think about the mobility of your Frost DK, there are some good potentials because of, obviously, you can also have your 2 sprints as well on top of this crazy build to be a complete nuisance in the PvP war mode space. Those tigers are going to be really loud. But that is the Frost Death Knight. Again, if you stuck around this whole time, leave me comments down below on what you think of the whole POF Empowered Rune Weapon debacle. Maybe enlighten me on why I think what I think, or maybe I'm wrong. But ERW is so much better than Pillar of Frost. I was so excited for the Frost Death Knight when this got changed, because it's one of the only specs in the game that really benefits from resource generation more than others. But that's that. Thank you all very much for listening. I have been wearing, of course, Fabelina's little final boss shirt. This is Little Arthas and Sindragosa, themed, of course, because I'm playing Death Knights. This, of course, shirt exists because of the support here on the channel, and if you'd like to pick up one yourself or any of the other designs we have that have been made by other members of the art community, I can't say this right, then they're all down below. They're listed in my DBH merch store. Fabelina and I, we launched her new Battle Azerite Days shirt. That's the gorilla-inspired BFA hype shirt. And she also has another design similar to this, not this, but another little final boss coming out soon. So again, if you want to go grab something physical and support what I do here and keep letting me be able to work with other artists in our community and make things for your butts or your faces or your, normal parts of your body, then thank you very much for that. Check that out in the description box down below. Of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel and you'll enjoy my ramblings. I'm going to be updated whenever new videos come out. That's the Frost Death Knight. I can't wait to read the comments on this one, so I will see you all in the next BFA beta second pass ramble-filled video. Oh boy.